I spent 3 weeks tracking down the price of every single Pokemon booster box ever released. From the $80 boxes you can grab at your local game store, to the $50,000 boxes that could buy you a brand new car. Here's why I'm making this video. There are over 100 different Pokemon booster box releases in English alone. That's not counting Japanese boxes. That's not counting special products, just regular booster boxes. And the prices? They range from $80 to over $400,000. That's not a typo. $400,000 for 36 packs of cardboard. The booster box market has absolutely exploded in the last 5 years. Boxes that used to cost $100 are now $2,000. Boxes that used to cost $1,000 are now $20,000. It's actually kind of crazy. Alright, let's start with the modern era and work our way backward through Pokemon history. This is going to get really interesting really fast. So here's something most people don't think about. Modern booster boxes aren't going to stay cheap. I know everyone assumes they will, but they won't. And if you understand why, you can actually make some smart decisions right now. Here's why this matters. People see modern boxes at $80 to $100 and think these will always be available. Wrong. Once a set stops being printed, the price starts climbing. And it happens faster than you think. If you wait too long, you miss the boat. Right now, you can walk into a store and buy the newest Pokemon boxes for about $80 to $120. Stuff like Surging Sparks, Stellar Crown, Prismatic Evolutions. These are current retail prices. But here's the thing. As soon as Pokemon stops printing a set, the price immediately jumps. Not a little bit. A lot. We're talking 50% to 100% increases within months. Let me break down what's happening with current retail boxes right now. Surging Sparks boxes, about $90. Stellar Crown, around $80. Shrouded Fable, $100-ish. These are what I call fresh off the printer prices. You can find these at Target, Walmart, your local game store. They're everywhere. But, and this is important, some of these are already selling below retail. Why? Because the market is saturated. Pokemon printed too many, nobody wants them. Okay, quick story. When Stellar Crown came out, everyone was hyped about the Squirtle illustration, rare. Cute card. Everybody wanted it. Boxes were selling for $120 at release. Then Pokemon just kept printing and printing and printing. Within 2 months, boxes dropped to $75. Below MSRP, I watched people buy boxes at $120 thinking they were going to flip them. Those people lost money. This is what happens when Pokemon overprints a set. Here's the aha moment. Not all modern boxes are created equal. Some will go up in value, some will tank. The ones that go up, they have chase cards. Cards that everyone wants. Cards that people will rip packs trying to get. The ones that tank, nobody cares about the cards inside, so the boxes just sit there, getting cheaper and cheaper. Now let's talk about sets that just went out of print. This is the $150 to $400 range. These are sets from 1 to 3 years ago. Too new to be vintage, too old to find easily. This is where things get interesting. Let me tell you about Evolving Skies. This set released in 2021. At release, boxes were $90 to $100. Easy to find, everyone was buying them. Why? Because of the alternate art evolutions, especially that Umbreon card. That card is gorgeous. Within 6 months, Evolving Skies boxes hit $300. People were going crazy trying to find them. Then Pokemon reprinted the set, and reprinted it again, and again. Now, boxes are around $200 to $250. Still more expensive than retail, but way less than the peak. Think of modern booster boxes like cars. The second you drive a new car off the lot, it loses value. But if you hold on to that car for 20 years and keep it in perfect condition, it becomes a classic. And classics are worth more. Same thing with booster boxes. New boxes lose value if nobody wants them. But if you hold them for years, they become valuable. The trick is knowing which ones to hold. Now, let's talk about special sets. These are premium products, holiday boxes, special releases. They cost more at retail, usually $200 to $600. Why? Because they have better pull rates, exclusive cards, fancy packaging. And here's the key. Pokemon prints fewer of them. Lower supply means higher prices later. Examples? Hidden Fates, Shining Fates, Crown Zenith. These sets had special subsets. Shiny Pokemon. Amazing artwork. And the boxes? Way more expensive than regular sets. Hidden Fates never even got a traditional booster box. But if it had, it would be worth thousands right now. Okay, here's something controversial. Special sets are almost always a better investment than main sets. I know that sounds obvious, but people still buy main sets thinking they'll go up. They usually don't. Special sets? They almost always go up. Why? Limited print runs, better cards. more hype. Let me give you some numbers. Crown Zenith released in 2023. Boxes were about $150. Now, around $180 to $200. That's a 20 to 30% increase in less than 2 years. Meanwhile, regular sets from the same era, some are actually down in price. Silver Tempest released around the same time. Boxes were $100. Now, about $90 to $95. It went down. See the difference? Alright, so modern boxes are cheap right now, but they won't stay that way forever. The real question is, which ones are going to explode in value? And to answer that, we need to look at what already happened. We need to look at the Sun and Moon and XY eras. Because these sets, they're already in that sweet spot. Not too old, not too new, and some of them are selling for absolutely insane prices. Let's talk about it. Okay, so we just talked about modern boxes in the $80 to $400 range. Now we're jumping into the $300 to $1,200 range. And this is where things get really interesting. Because this is the era where people start making serious money. Or losing serious money if they pick wrong. Here's why the Sun and Moon and XY eras matter so much. These sets are old enough to be scarce. But they're new enough that people still remember opening them. That creates a perfect storm for value. Nostalgia plus scarcity equals high prices. But here's the problem. Not every set from this era is valuable. Some are, some aren't. And if you buy the wrong one, you're stuck with a $500 box that nobody wants. Let me start with Sun and Moon. This generation ran from 2017 to 2020, and it has some of the best value to desirability ratios in the entire TCG. What does that mean? It means these boxes are expensive, but not crazy expensive. And the cards inside, people actually want them. Tag team cards, full arts, amazing artwork. These sets hit different. Let me break down the most expensive Sun and Moon boxes. Cosmic Eclipse, $600 to $800. This set had the Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia tag team. Insane card. It also had a Solgaleo and Lunala tag team with Lily on it. Lily is one of the most popular characters in Pokemon. So that card, extremely valuable. Team Up, $700 to $900. This set introduced tag team cards. The Latias and Latios alternate art, one of the most beautiful cards ever made. That card alone drives the entire box price. Unbroken Bonds, $500 to $700. Reshiram and Charizard tag team. Enough said? Okay, let me tell you about my biggest Sun and Moon regret. When Cosmic Eclipse came out, I bought 2 boxes, paid $100 each, thought I was overspending. I opened one, pulled some decent cards, had fun. The other box, I sold it 6 months later for $150. Thought I made a profit, felt smart. That box is now worth $700. I could have made $600 by just not selling it, by just putting it on a shelf and forgetting about it. This is the lesson with sealed product. The best investment strategy is literally doing nothing. Just buy it and forget about it for years. Now, I have to talk about Hidden Fates, even though it's technically not a booster box set. Hidden Fates came out in 2019. It was a special set with a shiny vault, shiny Charizard GX, shiny Mewtwo, shiny everything. The hype was absolutely insane. At release, you could get Hidden Fates tins and boxes for about $20 to $50. Now, if Hidden Fates had gotten a traditional 36-pack booster box, it would easily be $2,000 to $3,000. We know this because ETBs from Hidden Fates sell for $400 to $500, and those only have 10 packs. Do the math. It's ridiculous. Here's your aha moment for this section. XY is actually cheaper than Sun and Moon on average. That sounds wrong, right? XY is older. Older should mean more expensive. But no, XY had some really unpopular sets. Sets that killed the market, Steam Siege, Fates Collide, Breakpoint. These sets were not good. The pull rates were bad, the cards were boring, nobody liked them. So even though they're from 2016 to 2017, they're still only $200 to $400. Meanwhile, Sun and Moon's best sets are $600 to $1,000. It's not about age, it's about desirability. This is the biggest mistake people make with sealed product. They think older automatically equals better. Wrong. Desirable equals better. Let me give you some XY numbers to prove my point. Evolutions, $300 to $400. This was the 20th anniversary set. Reprints of base set cards. It has a Charizard. People love it. But Steam Siege, $150 to $250. Fates Collide, $180 to $300. These sets are from the same era as Evolutions, but they're way cheaper. Why? Because nobody wants the cards inside. Now, there are a few XY sets that are expensive. and you need to know which ones. Roaring Skies, $600 to $900. This set has Mega Rayquaza, one of the most popular Pokemon ever. The full art Mega Rayquaza EX, iconic card. That's why boxes cost so much. Ancient Origins, $500 to $700. Shiny Mega Rayquaza, same deal. Phantom Forces, $600 to $900. This set has a Dialga EX Secret Rare. That weird silver card, super unique, super expensive. See the pattern? The XY sets that are expensive all have one thing in common. They have cards people actually want. Think of the XY and Sun and Moon eras like real estate. You know how some neighborhoods are super expensive and some are cheap, even if they're in the same city? Same thing here. Some sets from this era are expensive, some are cheap. It all depends on what's inside. Location, location, location. Or in this case, cards, cards, cards. Here's something weird that nobody talks about. Some XY sets that everybody remembers aren't even that expensive. And some sets that nobody remembers are super expensive. Example, everybody remembers XY base set, first set of Gen 6, boxes only $250 to $350. But Dragon Majesty, a tiny special set from Sun and Moon era, boxes are $300 to $400. More expensive than XY base. Why? Because Dragon Majesty had Ultra Necrozma GX, and the set was way less printed. Alright, so we've covered the $80 to $1,200 range, modern sets and middle era sets. But now, we're entering four-figure territory. We're talking about black and white, diamond and pearl, sets that are 10 to 15 years old, sets where a single booster box costs more than most people's rent. And this is where the sealed product market gets really serious, because we're not talking about hobby spending anymore, we're talking about investment pieces. Let's get into it. Okay, we've officially crossed into vintage territory, and when I say vintage, I mean boxes that are over 10 years old. Boxes that cost more than a used car. Boxes that you can't just casually buy at your local card shop. We're in the $1,000 to $3,000 zone now, and the rules are completely different here. Here's why this era is so important. This is where sealed product stops being a hobby purchase and starts being an investment. When you're spending $1,500 on a booster box, you're not buying it to open. You're buying it because you think it's going to go up in value. And if you're wrong, you just lost $1,500. But if you're right, you could double or triple your money in a few years. So the stakes are high, really high. Let's start with black and white. This generation ran from 2011 to 2013. And honestly, it's surprisingly expensive for how recent it is. We're only talking about 12 to 14 years ago, but boxes are already in the $1,000 to $3,000 range. Why? Two reasons. First, full art cards became a thing in black and white. Those big, beautiful full art supporters and Pokémon. People love those cards. Second, the Plasma series. The Plasma series was the last sub-series of black and white, and it had some of the coolest cards ever printed. Let me break down the most expensive black and white boxes. Plasma Freeze, $2,000 to $2,500. This is the box I mentioned at the start of the video, the one I opened as a teenager. This set has the gold secret rare Ultra Ball. You know, the item card that every competitive deck needs. That card is worth $800 by itself, so the box price makes sense. Plasma Blast, $1,500 to $2,000. Gold secret rare Virizion and Terrakion. Shiny Pokemon, cool artwork. Plasma Storm, $1,800 to $2,200. Shiny Charizard. Do I need to say more? Charizard equals expensive, always. Boundaries. Crossed, $1,200 to $1,800. Full art, Black Kyurem EX. Full art, Landorus EX. These cards were super playable and competitive, so people ripped a ton of packs trying to get them, which means sealed boxes are rare now. Alright, story time. I told you I opened a Plasma Freeze box as a teenager. Let me tell you what happened. I was 16 years old, saved up my money from a summer job, bought the box for $90, opened it with my friends. We pulled the gold Ultra Ball. I was so excited. We all were. But here's the thing. I had no idea what it was worth. I took it to my local card shop the next week, sold it for $40. $40. I thought I got a great deal. That card is now worth $800. I lost $760 because I didn't understand the market. This is why you need to know what you're doing with sealed product. One bad decision can cost you hundreds of dollars. Okay, I need to talk about something serious. Once you get into vintage boxes, resealing becomes a real problem. What's resealing? It's when someone opens a box, takes out the good cards, and reseals it to look new. Then they sell it as sealed. and you buy it thinking you're getting a legit product, but you're not. You're getting a box full of trash cards. This happened all the time in the black and white era. People figured out they could weigh packs to find the hollows. Take out the heavy packs, reseal the box, sell it. So if you're buying vintage boxes, you need to be really careful. Buy from reputable sellers, check the seals, ask for photos, or honestly, just don't buy vintage boxes unless you know what you're doing. Here's the big aha moment for this section. Diamond and pearl boxes should be way more expensive than they are. Seriously. These boxes are 15 to 17 years old. They have iconic Pokemon, amazing artwork, legitimate scarcity, but they're only $800 to $2,500. Black and white boxes are $1,200 to $2,500. Diamond and pearl is older. So why isn't it more expensive? Here's why. The people who grew up with diamond and pearl are still in their mid-20s. They don't have the same nostalgia buying power as people who grew up with base set. Those people are in their 30s and 40s now. They have careers, disposable income, nostalgia. So base set boxes cost $15,000 to $400,000. But diamond and pearl people, still relatively young, still building careers, don't have as much money to spend. So diamond and pearl boxes are undervalued right now. Let me give you some diamond and pearl numbers. Stormfront, $1,200 to $1,800. This set has a Charizard, so it's more expensive. Legends Awakened, $800 to $1,200. Supreme Victors, $1,500 to $2,000. This set has shiny Pokemon in it. Platinum Base, $1,000 to $1,500. Rising Rivals, $900 to $1,400. See what I mean? These are 15-plus-year-old boxes, and they're cheaper than some black and white boxes. That doesn't make sense. Here's my thesis. I genuinely think diamond and pearl boxes are going to explode in price over the next 5 to 10 years. Why? Because the people who grew up with Gen 4 are going to get older. They're going to get better jobs, make more money, and then they're going to want to relive their childhood. They're going to start buying diamond and pearl sealed product. And when they do, prices are going to skyrocket. This is what happened with base set. This is what's happening with black and white right now. And it's going to happen with diamond and pearl next. Think of Pokemon generations like wine. Wine gets more expensive as it ages, but it also gets more expensive as the people who drank it when they were young get older and richer. Same thing with Pokemon cards. The people who open these packs as kids grow up. They get jobs, they make money, and then they buy back their childhood. Diamond and pearl's time is coming. Alright, so we've hit the $1,000 to $3,000 range. That's already pretty insane. But we're not done yet. Not even close. Because now we're entering the Holy Grail era. The Wizards of the Coast original sets. We're talking about $5,000 boxes, $10,000 boxes, $50,000 boxes, and yes, even $400,000 boxes. This is where the sealed product market gets absolutely ridiculous. Let's talk about it. Okay, buckle up, because we're about to talk about booster boxes that cost more than most people make in a year. Boxes that cost more than a down payment on a house. Boxes that are literally investment grade assets. This is the Wizards of the Coast era. The original Pokemon sets from 1999 to 2003. And the prices? They're absolutely insane. Here's why this era matters more than any other. These are the original Pokemon cards, the ones people opened as kids in the late 90s and early 2000s. The ones that started the entire Pokemon TCG. These boxes represent the peak of nostalgia, the peak of scarcity, and the peak of value. If you own one of these boxes, you're holding a piece of history, and people will pay ridiculous amounts of money for history. Let me start with the Neo and e-reader series. These are technically the cheapest boxes in this era. And by cheapest, I mean $3,000 to $15,000. Yeah, that's the cheap end. The Neo series ran from 2000 to 2001. Neo Genesis, Neo Discovery, Neo Revelation, Neo Destiny. These sets introduced the Johto region to the TCG. Shining Pokemon, Baby Pokemon, Dark Pokemon. Really cool cards. But here's the problem. The print quality was terrible. Like, genuinely bad. Off-center cards, print lines, hollow bleeding. So even though these boxes are rare, collectors have mixed feelings about them. Let me give you some Neo prices. Neo Destiny, $6,000 to $10,000. This is the most expensive Neo set. Why? Because it has Shining Charizard, Shining Mewtwo, Shining Tyranitar. Those cards are worth thousands by themselves. Neo Revelation, $4,000 to $7,000. Shining Magikarp and Gyarados. Neo Discovery, $3,000 to $5,000. This is the cheap one. Neo Genesis, $3,500 to $6,000. First Neo set. Lugia on the pack art. Now, let's talk about the e-reader sets. Expedition, Aquapolis, Skyridge. These sets came out in 2002 to 2003. They had e-reader codes on the cards. You could scan them with a Game Boy Advance e-reader. It was a cool gimmick that nobody used. But the cards, absolutely gorgeous. Skyridge especially. Crystal Pokemon. Amazing holo patterns. Incredible artwork. These sets are some of the best looking cards ever printed. Skyridge boxes, $10,000 to $15,000. This is the most expensive e-reader set. Crystal Charizard, Crystal Lugia, Crystal Celebi. Those cards alone are worth thousands. Aquapolis, $8,000 to $12,000. Crystal Nidoking, Crystal Lugia. Expedition, $8,000 to $12,000. The first e-reader set. These boxes are expensive because they're rare. Pokemon didn't print many of them, and most of them got opened back in the day. So finding a sealed box now, really hard. Now let's talk about the real heavy hitters. Gym Heroes, Gym Challenge, Team Rocket, Fossil, Jungle, and of course, Base Set. These are the sets that define Pokemon, the sets that everyone remembers, the sets that started it all. Let me start with the secondary wizard sets, and by secondary, I mean they're not base set. Team Rocket, $12,000 to $20,000. This was the first villain set. Dark Pokemon, Rocket's Pokemon, super cool concept, and it has Dark Charizard. So yeah, expensive. Gym Challenge, $10,000 to $18,000. This set has Blaine's Charizard, and a bunch of Gym Leader Pokemon. Gym Heroes, $8,000 to $15,000. The first gym set, Fossil, $15,000 to $25,000. This set has Gengar, Kabutops, Aerodactyl, really popular Pokemon. Jungle, $18,000 to $30,000. The second ever Pokemon set. This set has Scyther, Pinsir, Wigglytuff, and it's rarer than you'd think. Okay, I have to tell you this story. In 2020, during the pandemic, Logan Paul bought a first edition base set booster box. On stream, live, he paid about $200,000 for it. Everyone thought he was insane. People were making fun of him, calling him an idiot, saying he got scammed. Fast forward to now. Those boxes are selling for $400,000 plus. He literally doubled his money in less than 4 years, just by holding a box of Pokemon cards. Now, I'm not saying you should go drop $400,000 on a booster box. Please don't do that. But it shows you just how serious the vintage sealed market has become. These aren't just collectibles anymore, they're legitimate alternative assets. Here's the aha moment for this section. Base set unlimited boxes are massively undervalued compared to first edition. Let me explain. A first edition base set box is $400,000 plus. A shadowless base set box is around $100,000, but an unlimited base set box, only $15,000 to $25,000. That's insane. It's the exact same set, same cards, same artwork, same everything. The only difference is a tiny stamp that says first edition, and that stamp adds $380,000 to the value. Yes, unlimited print runs were bigger, but they're still 25 plus years old. The gap between first edition and unlimited is way too large. I genuinely think unlimited boxes are going to close that gap over time. Not to $400,000, but definitely higher than $25,000. Maybe $50,000 to $100,000 in the next decade. Let me give you the full base set breakdown. Base set first edition, $400,000, plus only about 100 of these are believed to exist. They're the holy grail of Pokemon cards. Base set shadowless, $80,000 to $120,000. Shadowless cards don't have the shadow on the right side of the art box. They're from the very first print run, but they're not stamped first edition, so they're cheaper. Base set unlimited, $15,000 to $25,000. This is the common base set. Millions of these were printed, but they're still 25 years old. And they still have Charizard, Blastoise, Venusaur, all the iconic cards. Think of base set boxes like classic cars. You know how a 1969 Camaro is worth more if it's a first production model? Same thing with base set. First edition boxes are the first production. They're the rarest, the most valuable, but even the later production runs are still classic cars. They're still valuable, just not as valuable. Alright, so we've gone from $80 modern boxes all the way up to $400,000 vintage boxes. That's quite a journey, but now I want to talk about what all of this actually means. Should you actually buy sealed booster boxes? Is this a good investment, or are you just throwing money away? Let's discuss. Look, If you're asking me whether you should buy sealed booster boxes as an investment, my honest answer is it depends on your goals and your budget. If you have $200 to $500 to play with and you want to gamble on modern sealed product, I look at special sets and anything with chase cards that won't get reprinted. If you have $1,000 to $3,000, the black and white and XY era stuff is probably your best bet for medium-term growth. And if you have serious money, like $10,000 plus, vintage wizard stuff is as close to a sure thing as you can get in this hobby. But here's the thing, all of this only works if you can resist the urge to open them. So there you have it. Every Pokemon booster box, from the cheapest modern releases at $80 to the absolutely insane 400,000 plus first edition base set boxes. We've covered over 25 years of Pokemon TCG history, and honestly, the price ranges are kind of wild when you see it all laid out like this. Now, I know I probably missed some boxes or got some prices slightly off. The sealed market moves fast, and this took me forever to research, so if you spotted something I got wrong, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, maybe every Pokemon Elite Trainer box next, or a deep dive into Japanese booster boxes, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It genuinely helps the channel grow, and I really appreciate it. And let me know in the comments, what's the most expensive sealed product you've ever bought? Have you ever opened a vintage booster box? I want to hear your stories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.